You are now listening to Femme podcast with Tessa Markle
and Carolina Alvarez. Femme.
Welcome back, listeners. Thanks for tuning in. So, Tessa here and Carolina
at the Network Studios.
Yes.
In the lovely Culver City, LA. I feel like half of the time they don't know where we are, so I just...
we're in LA, if we haven't said that yet, by the way. Wherever you're listening from, we're in LA.
We've made it. We're here.
I don't know about that, but that's what we're going to talk about today is making your first movie.
Yeah. So
you got to start somewhere, right?
Make a movie. That's great.
Making movies for dummies. No, I mean, there's a ton we could talk about on this, right? Like there's so many things you have to be prepared with and know what you're doing, but we're just gonna give you the little
something like like things to start, thinking about and asking yourself, because sometimes you don't know. I mean, I could say this for myself. I don't think I always know 100% where I want to land with an idea for a film that I have right when I get it, because I work in like a creative space in my head, and then I have to like pull it back. And when you have kind of maybe some bigger picture things in the forefront of what you're trying to plan to do, then you can start to reel it in and solidify maybe the ideas you have. Because if you're like me and your mind's like a big sharp, no, what's it called? Not Sharpie board, whiteboard. It's like everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to like start like that, but then, start thinking.
Well, I mean, a lot of us, like, we're making films because we're creative minds, right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't know the business side of it,
girl,
pardon me, listeners.
It's okay. She's only purple. It's fine.
I'm just gonna die here in front of the microphone.
Please don't.
But there's so much more to it than just the creative.
Start thinking short film, feature film. Big differences actually when preparing for either or. Like if you're thinking short, are you trying to submit it to festival? Because then you only want to keep it around 20 minutes. Like we when we first thought of a short film, we were thinking half hour, and then we realized that's not the magic number, apparently.
Because they have to fit it into a schedule for a film festival. If they have a 30-minute time slot, 3 10-minute films is way better for them than one 30-minute film.
Yes.
So the shorter, the better.
Exactly. And then feature, that's a lot of shit ton of work. But yeah, for a feature, it's like, okay, 90 minutes, I want to say, is like what I've heard is the sweet number.
Well, that's like the technical, what it's supposed to be, quote unquote.
I mean, there's 60 minutes, but then that's shorter.
I think that's as short as it can get for a lot of film festivals.
Right. And again, that's film festival. Like you gotta think it will make a huge difference when you actually start writing the script of knowing where the key rises and falls should happen. So that way you aren't wasting a shit ton of time with rewrites. I mean, and it will happen anyways. It will happen. Your rewrites will happen, but at least you will be prepared and know where your film's going to fit. So then, you can save yourself time of cutting this and writing that. And I think that's probably our number one tip on when you start. You have a kind of an idea figured out, and then you're going to get, if you're writing the script yourself, which we know you as independent filmmakers, most of us will take on that responsibility because we're creatives and we want to see our visions come to life.
Or you're at least working closely with someone who's writing it as opposed to buying scripts.
Exactly.
Most of the time.
And so then, collaborating on that, it just helps the team, you yourself save time and to have that already in the forefront. So our suggestion would be figure out short film, feature, and then
it'll help you write too, because you know where, like you said, like where the climax is going to be and all that.
Exactly.
You'll have an idea of how long you have to make it and how much effort you have to put into it.
And then I would say,
well, once you know that, you can think about budget. Because that's another thing you want to know ahead of time, even before you really write the script, probably at least an idea of your budget. Because if you can't afford an action scene, you can't write in an action scene,
Yes, that is huge. Like we started with the Western idea. This is always where it's going to come back to, because it was a huge learning curve for us. We were all over the place. We went from short film to feature film to back to short and then back to feature. Yeah. And then we shot the most complicated scene as our teaser trailer, which, you know, if you do it right, you can actually use in your feature-length film. Like you can still be smart even if you are going to go for like the hardest thing possible.
Yeah.
And don't let it go to waste. But just know, yeah, like the location, the cast, are you gonna have star key players in there? Are you gonna and
another thing too is, like, know your resources, what you already have. You know, if this is your first film, chances are you're not going to want to spend a ton of money on it. I mean,
good point. Yeah, exactly.
Because your first film is going to suck. That's literally what everyone has told us. Like, you know, whether it's a feature,
yeah,
that you're putting a lot of time and money into, or whether it's just a little short, like it's your first film, you don't know what you're doing. So surround yourself with people that do, if you have access to that, if you know people like that. But know where your resources are. You know, are you going to cast your friends, or are you going to put out like auditions on Actors Access? Do you have crew that you know, or are you going to have to bring people in and pay them full rate? And, you know,
and and along with that topic of like crew or casting and stuff, I am a huge fan of pulling in your resources, but I think one of the biggest takeaways I've gotten since our work is like sometimes hiring, you know, Joe Schmo, your friend, isn't always like the best investment, even if you think it's going to save you time and money. Like people work better, A, when they're paid, and two, when that is the thing they're meant to do, not just, you know, someone who's kind of dabbled in sound and or whatever crew member. It just like it is. So I would suggest always trying to hire professionals as close as you can get.
Yeah, and you get what you pay for. So, you know, if you are friends with someone who normally does charge, you know, an average rate or whatever, chances are they probably do know what they're doing and they have the experience, you know.
Exactly.
And that's great. If they're your friend and they'll work for free for you, that's amazing. Use that resource, you know. But don't hire your friend just because they're willing to share their time with you. Like, make sure they know what they're doing. It's important, you know.
Yeah, a whole host interviews beforehand. I think, you know, just getting to know their work and making sure you guys vibe, that they can take direction, that they understand your vision. I think that's a huge part to the process that people kind of skip out on, is like really doing your due diligence of meeting every crew member. I mean, I think we've had people who didn't even respond to our emails at all, and then just kind of showed up the day of, and we're like, who are you?
Yeah.
And then they were the biggest problem, you know? So it's amazing what a difference it makes. And then, yeah, if you have that resource pool, if they're like, they are professionals and they're cutting you a deal, like that's amazing. Like that's the sweet spot, is like they're cutting you a deal, but they're still, you know, feeling like they're getting something out of it as well.
Surround yourself with people that are good at their job, and it will benefit you in the future.
Exactly. And are passionate about your project too. That will go a long way.
Definitely. But talking about benefiting you in the future, think about what your end goal is too, because...
Ooh, actually, can I just cut back real quick to equipment? There's a lot of resources too for equipment rentals. Yeah. Like ShareGrid, I believe, is where
that's what we've used. Yeah.
We've used, and it's been like huge, and I found great people too to work with on websites like that. I can't remember, there was another one, but ShareGrid for sure. Yeah. And we found some great people to work with us and rent, and we've used on multiple projects and have connected us to wonderful people too. Right. So find that community, and you can find things to rent for low cost, and you don't feel like you have to go to Sony and rent out all the crazy stuff, which, I mean, if you have it in your budget, like, go for it. But you can, you know, find shortcuts that aren't like shortcuts. Like you're
still getting the quality equipment, but you're not paying, you know, studio prices for it. Or if your crew has their own equipment, that's always an added bonus for hiring that person, you know?
Yes, because
they come and they know how to use it.
Exactly. They know how to use it, and chances are they might even cut you a deal with that. They're like, with the camera and them, they'll work out a deal because, you know, they will charge you for both. But sometimes, again, if they know you, they'll cut you a deal. Maybe they'll kind of cut down on their camera rental rate or whatever it is. So that's huge. So sorry, but
no,
I just wanted to interject that because I found that to be really helpful. Yeah.
That's all stuff you need to think about before maybe you even write your script again, but definitely before you get into like actual pre-production. And something else to think about is, why are you making this film? Are you looking to actually sell it, distribution? Or are you looking to get it in film festivals? So, maybe in front of other people, maybe not actually selling it, but getting it out there, whatever, or just like online views, are you just going to host it on your website and it's
Vimeo, YouTube, where is that going to go, and how do you want to build your audience based on that, and who is your audience?
Exactly. Are you just making this for your friends and family to see, to say, hey, I made a movie, or are you making it for as many people as can possibly see it, or are you making it for the money? It's in every. There's no right or wrong to that. Everybody's going to be different and they're going to have different reasons. But that's something to think about ahead of time, again, because when you're thinking about budget and things like that, and, we'll get into film festivals, but they're going to want to buy certain kinds of movies, for instance, or not buy, but accept certain kinds of movies, for instance. So if your movie is a genre that's maybe popular, but it doesn't fit like a certain kind of film festival vibe, they're not going to take it. And, you just be aware of where your movie's going to end up before you make it, because you don't want to screw yourself over in the end, really.
And have no hard feelings. Like, if you know that it was only intended to make it 2 online views, then you'll be happy with that. Yeah. But then if you're trying to get into a festival and you don't know why your barely under 60-minute short film isn't making it in, there is some science behind that and reason, and it's so important to do all that research beforehand.
Mm-hmm. It's being prepared. Like, it's the pre-production of pre-production, being prepared before you even get into actual any casting, hiring crew, finding location, any of that.
So that's all in the pre-production, and going on that kind of route, solidifying your script. I mean, before you approach investors or really, start to share you can start to share your idea maybe with your first or second draft. I think that's fine.
It's fine. But honestly, like, why not have the script exactly the way you want it? Because things are going to change when you're on set. It's going to happen. Things are going to get cut or changed or whatever. So why not have a script that you're really happy with before you approach anyone else with it? Make sure that script is doable and you have a passion for it, because it's as good as it can get.
And honestly, to moving on to our segment 2, having a budget, which we've talked about, is you can't really do that without your script being done, because whether you are the producer or you are working with a production company, their job is to go line by line and measure out each scene, each location, figure out the costs for pretty much every single line page you have, because that's where it's all going to break down. And if your script isn't completed, and then all of a sudden you have a mystery scene all the way out in, I don't know, Alabama, it's like, oh, we didn't factor that cost at all. Shit. And now we have to rummage back and redo the numbers. And it's just like things like that. You can't go to a producer, or you yourself can't start unless that's all done and figured out.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, to recap again, be totally prepared. Know if you're going to do a short or a feature. Have your script solid.
And then figure out your budget.
Yeah.
And calculate. We'll go into it, but, post-production, the publicity costs, the distribution costs. If you're trying to go on a bigger market, those are all big costs that you're going to have to factor. And just to like scale it down, if you just want to, again, make just a movie just for you, then you don't have to worry about any of those costs. I mean, other than maybe post, if you want to have something representable, or like is that a word?
Presentable.
Presentable. God. Presentable to then maybe just showcase your work, or if you're starting out, you just I think key investment costs you should factor in beforehand are definitely would be like the post-production and sound. I mean, without that, your film is not going to stand out. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah. So be prepared before you even start into actual pre-production. Just be super prepared. And, you know, there's always people you can talk to. There's so many resources here in LA, but they're also online. You know, there's so many different forums and stuff you can talk to. And as we always say, you can DM us if you have any questions, want to get to know us. You can do that through our Instagram or Twitter, and we'll help you out.
At Femme Regard.
Yes. So, Carolina, you want to inspire us this week?
Oh, yes. I would love to. So, my new year has consisted of binge watching like everything that I've missed out on. And one of the more recent things, because we're getting into a thriller horror mindset for our next feature, and I had read about and finally saw HBO's Sharp Objects, and
which I still haven't seen.
I cannot wait till you do, so we can like geek out over it. But it's, in case you didn't catch it, on the Golden Globes, Amy Adams was nominated for Best Performance by an Actress in a Limited Series, and no, she didn't win it, but oh my God, girl was amazing. I love her.
She always is.
Yes. And then, but if you know or heard of Patricia Clarkson, she did win for Best Supporting Actress, and she plays the mother of Amy Adams, a twist. Oh, girl, she is a see you next Tuesday in that series. But like, God, her performance is just brilliant. And so it's kind of like, it's like a brief summary. I can't, basically, Amy Adams is a reporter who comes back who's kind of sent on a mission back to her hometown to solve some murder crimes going on. And so then she has to re-encounter her family, her pasts, and just something to geek out about if you're something I was just kind of, I liked a technique they used was a sequence of flashbacks, but it wasn't like, they did it in a way where it was almost like dreamlike. Okay. And so first of all, it was kind of trippy in the beginning. You have to get used to it. So I always feel like the first episode you're kind of like, what? And then you really get sucked in as you continue watching, because like there's these like flashbacks that they do. And maybe I'd love to hear if you thought it was borderline overkill, but I actually started to really appreciate it because you suddenly became like a detective trying to piece it all together. So it was cool because at first you're like, is this real or was this in the past? And then you start to catch on, and then you're trying to figure out like, why is she seeing this whole
like
time?
A psychological thriller kind of deal.
Yes.
Okay.
It's dark. It's really dark, but I loved it. And I appreciated that because it made you even more active, not just like, okay, they're telling me why she's this jaded alcoholic, whatever. And now it's like,
get to be an active listener.
Yes. And I love that. I really appreciate that in filmmaking. So if you're a filmmaker interested, I love the way they incorporated the flashback sequences. And again, the story was original. I really like the storyline, and I think y'all should watch it.
All right.
Yes.
So I need to watch it. You guys do too. But that concludes our episode today. So just a reminder, you can follow us and see what we're up to. And you can do that on Instagram at FemmeRegard or on Twitter at Femme_regard. And check out our website. If you guys haven't seen our work, we'd love to share it with you. Now, keep in mind, these are our first few short films. We're only going to get better and better. But we'd love to share that with you. And it is www.femmeregard.com. Thanks for listening to Femme Regard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in next time for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals over tea.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. If you leave us a great comment, we might give you a shout out on the show. For more on us, check us out at femmeregard.com.